Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. If you like making money, subscribe to the channel. We talk a lot about undervalued investments, and sometimes we talk about market conditions and some things that are related to market conditions. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about Biden's solar energy plan has a major space problem. So on the channel, we talk a lot about energy, oil, uranium, and renewables. We talk about the hydrogen economy and some of these renewable technologies and why they are inferior to some of the older, we'll call it fossil fuel technologies. And the reason I call it inferior is we have to overcome a bunch of technological challenges, which makes it more difficult and complex. And usually when you introduce more complex and less energy dense sources, it doesn't make sense overall unless you've got other motives, like cleaning an environment or something like that. But one of the problems is space. Solar is capturing light from, we'll call it sun, the sun and other stars, I guess, just not nearly as much, but mainly from the sun, which is the closest star. And it has maximums that you can gather this sunlight from. So it's a very low energy dense source. Fossil fuels are much more energy dense and they're much easier to store. So I'm going to go into how much space solar is going to take for Biden's plan here, just to touch on it. So Biden's solar energy plan has a major space problem. This is by Rystad Energy. It goes into, it's a promise to launch a clean energy revolution in the country with a chief aim of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. So if we're going to go down, it says the solar PV installed capacity required to meet the target would occupy around 13,412 square miles of land, equivalent to 0.5% or 0.43% of the total land area in the lower 48 states, or roughly 50 times the size of Austin, Texas. Land scarcity is often cited as a key barrier to ramping up solar and wind energy capacity in the U.S., thus undermining the country's revitalized decarbonization ambitions for the next 30 years. Solar farms in particular require a lot of real estate and, unlike wind farms, could take land away from agriculture or other uses. Although building all these solar farms is no easy task, the right choice of unoccupied land and with sufficient investments in infrastructure, it can be done. Not every state is a good fit for large-scale solar plants, but certain southern states could take on larger gigawatt-scale projects than others, says Felix Tan, senior analyst. So we go down here. Rystad Energy assumes a compound annual growth rate of 1.7% in power demand between now and 2050. We look at that. The U.S. would need around 600 gigawatts of new wind capacity and 1,000 gigawatts of new solar capacity. This could put at risk more than 56 billion cubic feet per day of future gas demand. So we'll go here. The operational utility solar PV capacity, according to Rystad, is only about 48.8 gigawatts, which covers merely 654 square miles of land. This is what I guess they're proposing. This is the site of the solar plant. We look here, size of solar plant to power. This is Austin, Texas. It's this gigantic amount in Texas here, when they've got a little Texas within Texas. It says the ramp up in storage and transmission will only lead to more and larger utility scale solar photovoltaic projects in the U.S. The 600 megawatt Topaz solar farm in California, which came online in 2013 and 2014, currently ranks as the largest plant in the country. The next 4 years could see the ceiling smashed as various phase projects become operational, including the Samson Solar Energy Center in Texas and the Edwards and Sanborn Solar Project in California, both of which will breach the gigawatt mark. Bearing in mind that the Biden administration is also planning a major expansion of transmission networks across the country, the scene is set for gigawatt-scale solar photovoltaic projects to be launched. We expect more gigawatt-scale solar PV projects to follow. So, just wanted to touch on how much land this is going to take. It is going to take a massive amount of land, 50 times the size of Austin, Texas, that city. 0.5% of the lower 48 states. So that's a lot of land. I don't know what the environmental impact is for taking that much land. Obviously, you're going to be clearing out that land. You're going to be affecting the wildlife in that area. You're going to be taking and cutting down trees, grass, whatever it may be. Those are carbon dioxide sinks in order to make this work. Now, I'm not anti this stuff, but I'm not pro this stuff either. With how the energy density of gathering sunlight is pretty bad. And maybe we can put them on rooftops, but to just throw these gigantic solar farms everywhere, I think it's going to be a pretty bad eyesight, and I don't think it's going to be that great for the environment. Not that I'm necessarily a tree hugger by any means. I just think it's kind of ridiculous to go to this extent with such a poor technology. That's all. If you guys like this channel, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.